Can machines think? Can we construct machines that have intelligence, consciousness, machines that feel? The first science fiction work is considered to be Frankenstein's monster. First written in 1818, some say that this story resembles the Jewish golem. Both creatures resemble zombies. See, they're pretty similar, I think. They have no consciousness. They are somewhat on the spectrum between humans and machines. In 1920, the term robot was coined by Joseph Chapek for the play R.U.R., written by his brother Carl. Interestingly, the robots that appeared in the original play were artificial creatures made of flesh and blood, not of metal. But these creatures, too, were supposedly devoid of consciousness. Things changed with the invention of the digital computer in the middle of the 20th century. Suddenly, the idea of creating intelligent systems that think like humans sounded possible. In 1950, Alan Turing wrote a paper where he offered the challenge of the imitation game. Oh, what I do? There it is. He expressed his belief that within 50 years, machines would be able to imitate human linguistic capacity very well, so well that they would cause people to believe they were actually human. Turing's paper caused many to see linguistic capacity as the hallmark of intelligence. And great efforts were put into teaching computers to use language the way humans do. One rather cute attempt is the chatbot Eliza, devised in 1966. Here's a typical conversation with Eliza. Notice what Eliza says and ask yourself if it really has something to do with what she was told. What's on your mind today? Please let me know your opinion about family. I see. Blah, 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 blah. What caused you to feel that way? Blah, 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 blah. What other reasons might there be? Blah, blah. I'd like to know more about your opinion. And so on and so forth. Now, it's quite remarkable that in 1966, this rather simple program was able to be written, and it's cute. It works to some extent. Now, another challenge for computer programmers was writing a program that would win the chess game. Chess demands creativity and the ability to distinguish between what's important and what can be neglected. In 1996, Deep Blue beat world champion Kasparov in a chess game, and in 1997, it beat him in a tournament. There's Kasparov there. He's pretty distressed. It was claimed later that there was some cheating going on, but that's history. Anyhow, these programs weren't really considered intelligent by the wide public. These achievements indeed seemed impressive, but people just didn't seem to see these programs as thinking entities. One major reason for this is that everyone knew that these programs don't operate the same way the human mind does. These programs use brute force and some tricks, but they couldn't learn from experience, and they were not creative. This started to change with the rise of machine learning, especially in the past decade. Machine learning, or deep learning, is often used in algorithms that learn from their own experience. For example, Facebook's face recognition algorithm uses trial and error methods to improve its performance. And Google Translate has become much more accurate once it started using deep learning algorithms to learn from its mistakes and improve its results. Also, in the past few years, artificial intelligence has entered the field of creativity. Algorithms that were exposed to millions of faces, paintings, text, and melodies could now create new faces, new poems, new music, and new paintings like this one. This is an artificial painting. Here you see a synergy between skyscrapers and transistors, and the artist Matisse. So this is the original work of Matisse. This is a woman who looks supposedly in the same position, and if this would be in color, it resembles it quite well. Now, it's often said that this kind of learning from experience highly resembles the human brain. That's my brain there? Really? The way these algorithms learn seems quite similar to the way that people learn. And while the creativity that these programs display is based on samples that they were exposed to, human creativity, too, puts together various things that the artist has met throughout her life. So, in light of this, one would expect that we would see these learning machines as intelligent entities. But we don't. At the end of the day, we don't really see robots and algorithms as intelligent things, or as things that think. And even when we say that a computer is thinking, we usually mean that it's thinking, in scare quotes. By the way, when do we say about a computer that it's thinking? When it gets stuck. Think about that. So, despite the technological sophistication of these machines, and despite their resemblance to human cognition, we just don't see them as intelligent or as thinking things. Why not? What's missing? What would be needed for a machine to be an intelligent or a thinking entity? One answer, the classic one, was nicely phrased by a neurologist named Jefferson back in 1949. Not until a machine, he writes, not until a machine can write a sonnet or compose a concerto because of thoughts and emotions felt, could we agree that machine equals brain. No mechanism could feel pleasure at its successes, grief when its valves fuse, be warmed by flattery, be made miserable by its mistakes, be charmed by sex, be angry or depressed when it cannot get what it wants. According to Jefferson, we don't see machines as thinkers because they lack consciousness, because they don't experience anything, because they don't have emotions and don't feel pain or joy. But this assertion itself begs the question, how do we know that these machines lack consciousness? What exactly would a conscious machine look like? What would it sound like? What would we expect a machine to say if it really did experience pain? If smartphones that fell to the floor declared, "I am in pain," would we really see them as experiencing pain? No, we wouldn't. In fact, it's hard to think of anything that would cause us to see machines as experiencing pain or as having consciousness. It's hard to think of anything that would cause us to see machines as intelligent or as thinking entities. Because no matter what machines would do, and no matter how they were built or programmed, we would say, nah, that's just an algorithm. There isn't really any conscious experience going on inside. In light of this observance, I want to suggest an alternative approach to the question of machine thinking and consciousness. On a radio interview in 1952, Alan Turing, who invented the computer, claimed that we could, theoretically, construct machines that would have several human-like cognitive capacities. It could be done. When he was asked how this could be done, he answered in sarcasm and said, "If I had given a longer explanation of exactly how to construct a machine with cognitive capacities, you'd probably exclaim impatiently, well, yes, I see that a machine could do all that, but I wouldn't call it thinking." As soon as one can see the cause and effect working themselves out in the brain, one regards it as not being thinking, but as sort of unimaginative donkey work. What Turing is actually saying here is that once a magician reveals his tricks, his witchcraft no longer seems magical. The same goes for thinking machines. Once we realize that we could know how a machine works, we say, nah, that's just a machine running an algorithm. It doesn't really think. It's not intelligent. What I'm suggesting is the following. The reason we don't treat machines as thinking entities, the reason we don't see them as intelligent or as conscious beings, is not because these machines lack some ability or another, but because we, humans, have a chauvinistic attitude towards machines. We see machines, by definition, as things that cannot think. Or if you wish, we see thought by definition as something that only humans can do. Larry Tesler phrased this nicely in the 70s. Intelligence is whatever machines haven't done yet. Let that sink in for a moment. Tesler expresses here the voice of a frustrated computer engineer. Computer engineers and programmers work hard to construct machines that would meet the standard for intelligence. They write chess-winning programs, they devise algorithms that learn from their experience and display creativity, and so on. But every time they succeed, every time computer engineers manage to create a machine that meets the standard for intelligence, philosophers shake their head and say, no, that's not intelligence, that's just an algorithm. Same goes for thinking, for consciousness, and for all mental phenomena. If some machine would display thinking abilities, we would say, that's not thinking. That's just some sophisticated program written by some sophisticated human programmer. So, we humans have a prejudiced attitude towards machines. But we're not aware of this fact. We're not aware of our chauvinistic attitude. So we keep asking again and again, can machines think? But the answer to that question is negative by definition. It's not that there's something that machines cannot do. It's just that the term thinking machine is an oxymoron in our language. It's a built-in contradiction, a linguistic contradiction that we're not aware of. So in 2019, there are no thinking machines. Not because there's something that they cannot do, but because of humans' chauvinistic attitude. We see machines the same way we saw them in the 50s. We see them as things that by definition cannot think. Now, this was a sociological observance. We took a careful look at how humans think of machines. I want now to consider some philosophical aspects. Hold on tight. According to the classical view, intelligence, thinking, consciousness, and all mental phenomena are intrinsic properties of an entity. This means that the existence or absence of intelligence or thought is determined only by the properties of the entity itself, only by the creature's own functions and internal structure. According to this view, intelligence, thought, and consciousness are things that occur inside the creature, inside the brain. As they say in Hebrew, hakol barosh. Everything is in the head. I suggest that this view is wrong. I claim that an entity's thinking or an entity's being intelligent are facts determined not only by the entity's intrinsic properties, not only by what goes on inside the box, but also by society's attitude towards the entity, by the way that society perceives this creature. The idea is illustrated in a drawing made by a friend of mine, S.T. Klein. If humans, illustrated here as brains, perceive a certain machine as a thinking entity, then that machine is indeed a thinking entity. For if the whole society perceived a machine this way, there would be no point on asking, wait, does this machine really think? Just like we don't ask if that person over there really thinks. I don't know. Maybe you don't. I don't know. It's just a wide accepted social convention. And that's the way the term thinking functions in our language. We tend to imagine thinking as some spooky process taking place inside the brain. We imagine it as an internal process that only the thinker herself has access to. But according to the approach suggested here, thinking, and also intelligence and consciousness, are properties that their existence is determined by society's attitude. This may have interesting implications on human cognitive research, but let's stick to machines. Does our chauvinistic attitude towards machines imply that there will never ever be thinking machines? Not necessarily. For if human attitude For if human attitude is what stops machines from being thinking entities, well, human attitude may change. In 1950, Alan Turing made the following socio-linguistic prediction. I believe that at the end of the century, the use of words and general educated opinion will have altered so much. Again, the use of words and general educated opinion will have altered so much that one will be able to speak of machines thinking without expecting to be contradicted. Turing predicts here that in the future, our attitude towards machines will change. When this happens, there will be a change in the meanings of the linguistic concepts machines and thinking. And so the term thinking machine will finally make sense and will no longer constitute an oxymoron. Now, Turing was wrong. The end of the 20th century has passed, and we still don't take seriously the term thinking machine. We still have a chauvinistic attitude towards machines. But someday in the future, our attitude might change. When this happens, we will see machines as things that think, and perhaps as things that have consciousness, intelligence, and feelings. To conclude, we usually see thinking, intelligence, and consciousness as processes occurring in one's brain, inside the box. But sociological and philosophical analysis shows us that society's attitude plays a crucial role in constituting a creature's mental phenomena. Society's attitude is what prevents the existence of thinking machines, and society's attitude is what may constitute thinking machines someday in the future. For further reading, you can see my paper from 2018 available online. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shlomo. It was really, really interesting, and we'll now have some questions from the audience. Any question? Yes.
So can you explain what is new beyond Turing's test?
Is there an updated version of the Turing test?
I think that Turing's imitation game was misunderstood to be a test for intelligence. I hinted that in my talk. I think it was just a way to tell if a machine is really sophisticated. He claimed that when we encounter such sophisticated machinery, our attitude will change and we will finally accept the fact that machines can think. But I don't think he meant, and I don't think it is a test for intelligence. I don't think there is a test for intelligence. If we perceive a thing as intelligent, then it's intelligent. If we don't, we could try again and again. You could make computers more and more sophisticated. We just won't accept it as intelligent. I'm not suggesting any test. Okay, so that's a good question. What is considered social acceptance of machines as thinking? Do I need 100% of the society to agree? Do I need 51%? Do I need 51% of a certain group? I don't have an answer to that question. But when the day comes, when everyone, or when it's a wide consensus that machines think, there just won't be anything, there won't be anyone to argue with.
What do you think should happen so that people will stop being chauvinists about computers? Is there anything that you can assume that will happen?
I'm no prophet, so I don't know. I could guess. Turing guessed that once machines succeed in managing a conversation with humans, that would change their attitude. I don't know. There's some science fiction movies of people falling in love with their computer systems and stuff. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm no prophet. I'm a philosopher.
Okay, on that note, let's thank Shlomo.